Hello, in this video I'd like to cover the legend layout element. It's a part of the default .plt print layout template, and it's probably the most highly customizable layout element. There's quite a few different options for the way that this is going to display your data, and most likely you will spend more time setting up the legend than you will with any other element. And for that reason, I do recommend once you get this set the way that you like it, to go ahead and save a new .plt and use that in the future once you get your preferences set up. So like I said, it's here in the default. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. I have it selected. I'm just going to hit the delete key. And I'll just draw a new one in to show how that works. I'm sure you've probably already gotten used to that, but I'm just going to draw that in here. And you can see it looks quite a bit different than the one that comes in the default layout template. And I'm going to go through and show you all the options and how to make this actually look quite a bit more presentable. So first step is to select it, which I already have it selected. You can see it's selected in the layout tab, the legend. And let's just go through all the properties real quick. You've got your layout and your name. So the location and size are fairly normal. Name is also part of all of the layout elements. If you did feel the need to rename that, you can rename that, or you can change the size here. Locked will keep this from moving, so if I set that to true, if I grabbed it, I wouldn't be able to move that anymore. And the real customizable area here is the options drop down in the properties. I'm going to go through each of these right now and you'll see how big of a difference this can make. So display map groups. Now I'm going to, if you just look up here in the top left corner, if I set this to true, which I can just double click on that, now I have text says primary and it's in bold, and you can see why that is, because it's displaying the name of the group, so the group parent of all of these children here. So all of these layers belong to the primary group, and you can turn that on or off if you want to display that. Just make that large. So set to true, you'll be able to see those. False, you won't. Display thematic headers. Now this set to false or true, you can see I have the road layer, and these are all of the different thematic values belonging to the road layer. You can turn that on, turn that off. So in this case, I think we all know that RD stands for road, so you might not really need to show that it's a part of a group called road. So you can turn that off. Same with regen in this case, and my stream layer. So we'll just turn that off and draw on one line, or draw in one line. So here's a good example. We've got these lakes. Any of these guys that belong to a thematic are basically drawing on one line already because they're thematic values. But this parcel, waterhole, unstable, these are all not drawing on one line at the moment. So you've got parcel above the symbol. So if you set that to true, now you're going to be in line just as if it was a thematic. So you can see how much space that saves you right off the bat. Go from pretty much a full legend to maybe 3/4 of the way down. And wrap text. This is another great option where you can see right here we have stream unclassified. Now I want to keep this map large and I want to keep the legend small, but unfortunately this one label doesn't quite fit. So if I set this to true, well, it doesn't look all too great, but it's going to just wrap that text around to the next line. So you might actually be able to move this back. I need to unlock it first. You might be able to move this back a little bit and save even more space. That made it worse. But I think you can see the idea there is that if you have something that is very long, you can make that fit and you won't lose any of those characters. And lastly, the symbol section. Most of this you'll probably be familiar with from the other videos, but I can change the background, and I'll just run through this real quick. So you can change the color of the background. Obviously that's not going to work. And I can change the outline. So this would be like for adding a neat line. I'll hit OK on that. So now you can see we've got a nice little line around there. Maybe too many lines, but just wanted to show how that works. So let me go back up here to the legend. Font. Now, you might not think about using font to change the overall size, but as the font gets smaller, everything else will get smaller too. So you can just type in here manually. 8 seems to be a good size, and of course that's just 8-point font, but now we're looking a little more clean. Everything is fitting. We've saved a lot of space. I'm going to leave it like that. Of course, in the font drop down, you could change and you could add bold font. Maybe you want to see that a little more bold. And yeah, so we'll leave that like that for now. And this is also pretty important. Layers, map, and number of columns. So layers is going to actually be further options outside of display layer settings. In display layer settings, you can choose whether to show a value on the map or not. So right now I have all of these shown, but it is possible that you have some layer like contours, for instance. If you have contours on, they'll be added to the legend. But you can come in here and turn those off, but I'm just going to use parcel as an example for now. So if I uncheck this box, you can see parcel is gone, and I'll come back and turn that on, and you just have to click out of that. It's kind of like hitting enter, and there we go, parcel is back. So most times it does seem that you don't want to show your contours in your legend, so you can turn those off right in here, as well as anything else that you might not want to show. Now map 1, I think we've gone over this with the scale, but this is an attribute of your map element. So just like the scale, this, if you wanted to add more than one map to one layout, you can link this map to this element. So here we have map 1, and it's linked to this legend, and that just shows here that we're linked to map 1. And lastly, number of columns. If I were to make a different type of legend, something more like this, you can see that it kind of wants to overflow onto the page. It kind of overruns the bounds here, and it's a little bit hard to control. You're not going to be able to get that in there. The rest of these values need to fit inside that box, so you can do that pretty simply. You can add another column. So we'll go from 1 to 2. We can see that it's kind of overflowing there a little bit still, as these 2 columns are completely filled, so we might need to add a third one. And I'll just do that, and so there we go. That's a little bit hard to see, but I'll just move this up out of the way. So that's the basic overview, if not a little detailed, and you can get into quite a bit of detail with the legend and set that up for any direction that you want, and not lose any of your data. So I'm going to leave it there, and thank you.